Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. We've got quite an interesting visual theory-based video where we're looking at the river near to the party house, as there was a supposed event which involved some of the partygoers, including Noah Presgrove. Could anything have went wrong near to a river, or could it have been a location post-death? As for maybe disposing of items. Now, there is another key reference point too by Brook Carter, which I will present to you first today to set the scene of how things supposedly played out, and then we apply it onto the maps. And I will even try and find some street view imagery or try and get as close as I can to possible water, just to try and understand the environment, a different type of location, because we've not gone too deep into the water theme and topics. Some that have been around on my channel for quite some time will be familiar with the Dylan Rounds case, Lucin Pond, rivers, washes, how valuable they can be, and key opportunistic spots for murderers or anyone else in between to dispose of stuff. And as for this case, have searches been conducted near any rivers? From the looks of it, no, because there'd be no reason to, since Noah was found on the highway. So I know there'll be some counterpoints today. Why would you be looking at a river if Noah ended up dead on a highway? Well, could anything have gone wrong to Noah at a river, or could anything have been disposed of after Noah being placed on the highway or dying on the highway, and then clothing, hats, shoes, whatever else, whoever else could have got rid of stuff? I don't want to go in too deep right now because I want to set the scene visually. I just want to lay it out on the table so you know what to expect today. But I do advise you, make sure to stick around so you understand the full perspective. And after watching this video, be sure to drop a comment down below under the video and let me know what you think about the situation. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have any questions? Leave them below. You'll find a pinned message as well with additional links if you want to support this channel. And welcome to those that are currently here watching this live premiere. Feel free to engage with the live chat on the right hand side of the screen. And if you have missed out on any recent videos of mine, be sure to catch up. You don't want to miss out. To do so, you'll find them top right corner where the eye symbol is. Click there. You have the full playlist and the video from last night. So with that all being said, we might as well start first with Brook's comment. Here we are. So this is just to set the scene visually. A river. Timing of the event, who knows, but just right here. So you might be wondering, where did this come from? Well, it was on a recent video of mine during a live premiere in the live chat. I can't remember which video it was, but if you go back, the live chat replay will all be there. But at the time I thought I'd take a photo just in case. And it did ring a bell as well with a previous video suggestion. It all ties in. And I guess before we read this comment, a few weeks ago, some viewers here and there said to me, you need to check the river, you need to look at it. Some expert in the past on Partners in True Crime, possibly, or elsewhere, said the river needs to be checked. Buildings, houses or other types of buildings near to the river need to be searched. Bit random and odd, right? And whilst yes, it's a video idea, when coming across this now to highlight that certain key individuals were in possible key areas, it makes more sense as to why it could be searched or why it needs to be. Brook Carter says, markers was Saturday. What does that mean, markers? Phone pings, traces of people, whereabouts maybe? Brook says, what if Noah had showered Saturday night? They were playing in the river some Sunday, and I'm sure Noah showered Sunday at home, so plenty of time to wash it off. Right, so I'm guessing this was a part of a discussion in one of my previous videos where we were looking at Noah's body, back and chest or stomach area, where it appeared that Noah had writing on his body, when trying to work out, well, in this frame, there's nothing. In the next frame, there is. But it's on the same day, at different times, supposedly. And then the day before, there was the video of people writing on the back of Noah, and that would have been the Saturday. Going into Sunday after breakfast, Noah eventually getting back home to have a shower. Then the next shower, what we were made aware of, was after the side-by-side rollover, supposedly. So that's 2 showers, 2 chances to get rid and remove any writing off one's body. But what Brook is suggesting here, not with a guarantee, but there's a possibility that Noah may have had a 3rd shower, which actually would have been Saturday. So the first shower, what we were made to believe, was Sunday morning after breakfast. But Brook is suggesting that Noah may have had a shower on Saturday night, after certain activities, I'm guessing. But to say they were playing in the river some Sunday, what the hell does that mean? They were playing in the river on Sunday, before Sunday. Brook's language is a little bit mixed up here, to be honest with you. I'm sure he showered Sunday at home. Yes, well, we've heard about that enough already. But besides the shower situation and trying to work out how, the marker pen on the body can fade or how it can reappear afterwards, whatever, it's the fact that it says they, including Noah, were playing in the river. Not a river, but the river. That makes it sound like the main one or the only one present. Now, which one would that be? Well, now it's time to head on over to the maps and begin. Here we are. So this time round, I finally have some new markers, a new project. And you may be wondering, why did I not do that sooner? It's because this case is quite deep. So many different events and stories. I'd probably run out of bloody storage, with trying to pinpoint everything. So really, what we've got here are the blue beacon points to do with the theme of water, whether that be a pond, a river, and anything else in between. We've got the casino marker there, just because of the location and maybe like a little coincidence if you want to put it that way. And we just work our way through and understanding. We've got the lines, which is like a route, or as Americans would say, a route, as to how you could end up at the river. I did try typing in on Google rivers, and not many showed up. There was like a creek and this and that, but that was further out over that way. I think one near Fleetwood. But the main one that stands out, a particular river to do with Oklahoma and Texas, is the Red River. Can you see it? It goes all the way up there. Whereabout could the party goers, or some of them, have arrived at? So, depending how you interpret Brook's comment, it happened Sunday. Is that so? Or did it happen Saturday? If Noah was to have a wash Saturday at the party, is that normal? I guess. We never hear it mentioned though, do we? Why is that? Why does no one ever mention or really question whether Noah had a shower on the Saturday? I mean, what's the pattern for Noah? Does Noah have a shower every day? Or one every other day or so? Once you understand the pattern, then you know what's normal, what's abnormal, or just more so what stands out. The reasoning behind Noah having a shower Monday morning wasn't directly because of the side-by-side accident. And some people may find that hard to believe. But from what Caden Pressey said, although he said he didn't see the shower take place at the party house on Monday morning because he was asleep, Caden did say that earlier on Sunday night, he overheard Noah talking about having a shower at some point. So Noah already had it in his mind that he wanted a shower. So when you get the other partygoers that are like, oh, yeah, the reason why this shower took place Monday onwards was because of the side-by-side and Noah was dirty. And if you knew Noah, he doesn't like being dirty, so that's why he wanted a wash. Is that so, Carter Combs? Because it just so happens that supposedly Noah wanted a shower long before that, before he was truly dirty. So what's that all about? Let me know your thoughts down below. Now, if the exception was that Noah Presgrove had a shower Saturday, And if they went down to the river on that day, maybe got a bit dirty, water splashing, sand, dust and dirt getting on you, swimming in, getting out of the water, falling about, whatever. Yeah, maybe Noah did want to have a wash to clean up. Or just at the end of the day, every single day, morning or night or both, Noah just has a wash to freshen up or before going to bed. Just like how, I think it was Jack Newton that said it in Partners in True Crime, that all the partygoers that were still present Monday all had a shower, a wash before going to sleep. Okay, so that applies to Noah as well. Then it would make sense that Noah may have had a shower Saturday. So that's 3 showers in total. Higher chances of being able to scrub certain writing off and more chances for it to fade, right? I know it isn't directly related to the river theme yet, but I just wanted to put it out there and try and make sense. So supposedly going down to the river occurred sometime on Sunday. If it is incorrect, well, you can always adjust it in the comment section below. I'm just working with what I have. Does it really matter what day and how important would it be? Well, of course, if they were going to visit the river on a Monday, that would be most important because that's closer to Noah's death than if they went down to the river on a Saturday or pushing it on a Friday. And I know some people will say, well, Noah wasn't there Friday. Yeah, but other people were, and those that lived there. So you've got to try and understand that. There might be an earlier day which could seem insignificant, but it could still be important, such as scouting the area out. What you got to take in mind when it comes to the murder of someone, a true crime case, if the murderer is a local, they're nearby, they are, I believe, classified psychologically as a marauder, but that would more so apply to serial killers, more than 3 or 4. But it's within a patterned, themed area, geographical speaking, where you live, where you operate out of. Well, not only are you a marauder, but you're going to have a better idea and concept of the area, the best places to go to. It's like if you were familiar with a neighborhood, you knew the passageways, the shortcuts, the underground, and you were being chased by police. If the police aren't familiar with the area, but you are, there's higher chances you'll be able to slip away into darkness. So if it came to concealing a body and you live in the area, you may know the best spot to do the job. Now take in mind, Noah was found on the highway. So I know once again people could throw it back at me and say, well, it's not that important then if Noah was found on the highway. Let's get on down, right? Yeah, Noah's body found on the highway. Noah's golf clubs, questionable. Some people in recent time state that they've been found and they never truly went missing. But I've not seen any physical or public proof of that. Neither has the brother who's the owner of them has confirmed it either publicly. So that says a lot. In terms of Noah's other Adidas shoe, in terms of Noah's hat, who knows about that? As for Noah's shirt, which some said was cut up, and others in recent time made a reference on Facebook stating Noah's mom was the one that had it, and then passed it on to some other random guy who may have been an ex of, what's she called? Is she called Casey Smith? Or I bloody forget the names, to be honest, but Noah Presgrove's mom ended up passing on some key items to some other guy. And some other guy, that may have been once a boyfriend to her, made the post announcing it on Facebook. But not once did any of the Presgrove family members confirm or acknowledge it on the Justice page. That says a lot, doesn't it? And there is clearly a divide, a split in lanes between one side of the Presgrove family being left in the dark, believing items have not been returned and are missing, like Robin Smith, Ashley Chadwick, and Dalen Presgrove, and anyone else. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you got Noah's mother that does know about items and have been passed on, and they're not missing. Well, there's a disconnect in between. Can we merge it together? Will that ever happen? Who knows? So it's still a mystery. In, out. And so, whilst Noah's body found on the side of the highway, if it was a murder, but if it did happen somewhere else, but people didn't want it to trace back to them, nor did they want it to come across as pure foul play, as concealing a body or a form of desecration, what's the next best thing you can do? Leave it out in the open, and especially in hopes it does not trace back to you. Maybe with a very small chance that you hope that if the body is found in open sight, which is a bit odd, but at the same time, it's in an appropriate area to some extent. Maybe, just maybe, you can bide your time just a little bit. Whereas, and I'll mention it right now because it can apply to the river, in terms of evidence, items, additional tools, any murder weapons, any clothing, any possessions of Noah, any possessions of whoever, if... and at the time, if they were the murderer or they were the murderers, could anything have been disposed of elsewhere so it doesn't trace back to them? But leaving enough, as for Noah's body, on site so the investigation doesn't go too far or too deep. You move a body further away, you kind of getting rid of that blood off your hand, off your property to an extent, right? That's how you could look at it. In terms of certain possessions or items which could be valuable and could incriminate yourself, then you might just have to literally destroy them, hide or conceal, in hopes that the body, when found, and the injuries, when analysed, won't trace back to the party house or a possible other location to where he truly died. And at least how it's gone in this case, there's not been any follow-up there. So if it is a murder, and if it was staged, as in the location of the body, I mean, people have been successful, right? Because the police haven't been proactive enough to go elsewhere. And by not going elsewhere, have there been wasted opportunities, such as the river? And the only reason what would make the river relevant is if at some point partygoers were actually present there. And how it's gone about in discussions, such as by Brook Carter, yes, people were there. Noah Presgrove was there. Is that enough to believe in? Are people going to truly believe with what Brook says there? I mean, there's no harm, because all Brook is saying is an event took place, supposedly a harmless activity, in going near to the river. Whether that to be to swim in, to sit by the side, talk, hang out or drink, it can happen, it can be normal, right? But if you wanted to analyse it deeper, alternative possibilities as to why they could be there, or if they did return later, what value would be present? Well, there is a slight disadvantage. It's a river, flowing, moving water in a particular direction. So if anything is dumped, submerged, what's the other word for submerge, or the other option where it rises back to the top later? And no, we're not talking about a body weighted down and then it pops up down the river, down the stream, or nearer to a city of some sort. Nothing like that. I don't know if that's how it was with Riley Strain. I mean, with Riley Strain, was it Nashville, Tennessee or something, where he was found in the water, but as for his lungs, they weren't filled up with water, so he actually died on land and then was dumped or somehow fell into the water, which is very weird, and I believe that was a river. Now, what would we be looking for today? What would be the general aim? Well, it's not saying, right, we're going to the river to look for Noah's body. No, that's completely off the table, because Noah was found on the highway. And even if somehow you were in the water, the autopsy didn't mention anything about water in lungs, didn't mention anything about drowning, nothing to do with that, okay? But the location can still be significant because there's a mystery to the place. We haven't seen any footage. We haven't seen any photos, videos, Snapchat of people partying or hanging out at the river. But equally, we've not seen any footage of the Ford Ranger driving about with the guys in shooting animals. So some things were recorded, other stuff wasn't. And to be honest, if you're in a Ford Ranger and you're shooting stuff and you're jumping over a gap in the road or a pathway and it's quite exhilarating, surely some of the guys would have recorded that, right? You know, the real action, the real party kicking on in. Yeah, let's get it on, let's record it, let's make these memories. But no, instead they decide to record, oh, we just stood outside, run into a plank of wood, oh, slapping someone's face. Yeah, that's really partying, man. What about the other stuff? You would have thought the bigger moments would have been recorded, whether it be because they want to show it online, spread it about for their own gain, or just because they found it cool or funny, and share with other people that maybe couldn't make the party, right? So you've got the mystery of the river, as in activity present, but no recorded media or documentation surfacing publicly. And then you've got the possibility of post-death of Noah, where any items taken here or disposed of. Now, when I look visually, it looks really dried out, but I don't know what it would have been like at the time of the season during Noah's death. What they said, it was dry, it was quite warm, hot, but the river surely still have been there, right? Because it's not a wash, it's a river. When it comes to a wash, well, they can dry up completely. I mean, from it here, we do see like water in, but it does look rather dry on the sides. Could be wrong, different time of when this imagery was taken, which may have been June onwards of 2024. During the Noah Presgrove case, that was September 2023. Would the water levels have been high or low? Does anyone know? Feel free to leave a comment below. Now, I might not be in the correct spot, but as I said, I tried looking for rivers, and this was really the only one that showed up. Now, where do we have the borders of Texas? Over that way. Getting closer to Texas, you think of the Texas boys as well. The only other reference to a possible river, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Justin Roy say over in a different direction from across the river? He and his family were camping or hanging out, doing their own thing, further away. But still, I heard the reference of a river. So, you get what I'm saying? We can also look for possible buildings near to rivers, any constructions of some sort, if it's true that an expert online said they need to be searched. Is that because it ties in line with what Brook was saying, partygoers being nearby? First of all, I guess what we should do is just acknowledge other little zones and spots just to either debunk, reinforce. So, anyone watching, in the comment section below, just let me know, it might help others. What are we looking at here? Besides it being a field, is that water? Is it flooded? Or is it like a drought? Everywhere else is luscious green, but here, it's brown, it's dark, it's murky. I mean, if you looked at it without much context, you could say, is it sand? Is it like a golf course? Well, it's not a golf course as we know, farmland related. Now, I'm aware that there are animals, cows, bulls, whatever, those like black dots speckled. So unless it was like a water hole or a place where animals could drink from, but it does look muddy. And whether it be a stream or a pathway, it seems to connect on down here. And once it gets to this point, it looks just rather dry, more like a pathway or track marks. So does anyone know what this is here? Is it wet? Is it dry? Same with this spot here. Is it wet or dry? As for here as well, of high interest, that definitely looks like water, the shaping of it. More so looks like for animals, because you can see more like cattle of some sort about. I know it's black dots, but I'm familiar with it. Near to the water, so it looks like a water hole, more natural, fills up. Okay. Beyond, I believe this is a quarry, so this is probably going to be out of reach. But there is some water supply there, as you can see. It's got a shimmer from the sun, and there is water here too. Now you can see the Texas border, if this is correct, the Texas border there. Okay. Oklahoma there. It's just the way the writing is. Oklahoma's on the right-hand side, Texas just on the left-hand side. So if we're looking across the river that way, northeast, so we're looking west, I'm guessing that's Texas. I'm guessing, yeah. Saw Texas over there. It's the way it's like cut out and how the river winds in and out, passing through, I guess, the different states, or at least in parallel to the borders line. Has anyone ever thought there's any interest or importance with this location? It's not that far away from the party house. There's no harm throwing it out there. If you want to debunk it, throw it aside, do whatever. It does look a lot clearer now, the imagery, which is a positive. Connects onto the main highway, not far from where Noah's body was found. And near to Noah's body found, roughly speaking, is a pond in another field, which may be private land property. This pond here. I looked into this in the past because it reminded me of the Dylan Rounds case when it came to Dylan's phone being dumped in a pond. It was found, but the reason why it was searched is because it just so happened that along the way, Dylan's phone ping, the final one, was near to the pond. So that's what caused searches to take place. So if you apply it to any phone pings within the area of here, in parallel, supposedly, to where Noah's body was found, and in parallel, roughly in this area, is where Jack Newton's phone pinged and someone else's phone. But that identity was not revealed public, to my knowledge. So besides Jack Newton's phone supposedly falsely pinging in this area due to bad signal, from what Jack said, passing on from what Jack was told by police, supposedly. Who else's phone pinged here? Does anyone know? If a phone pings here, at what time is what you would ask first? Before or after Noah's death, or in the process? And what else happened? What does it look like on ground level, if you're not quite familiar? You can clearly see, it's in sight. There is clearly a fence, barbed wire, but if you hopped over it somehow, I think, is that a caravan over there, or RV trailer, or a house? It's not quite blocked by the vegetation even at that time, so you would still be visible. But could anything have been dumped in that pond over that way? Has it been searched? I doubt it. Let me know your thoughts. If you were interested in how does the quarry look like, whereabout is it? Go down there, just a bit before. This is what it will look like on the left-hand side. You can see vehicles coming and going, of course. Not really for the general public. What does that say? R/R. What does that mean? Not allowed to drive on it, general public. And further down that way, you get to the quarry. It's not quite visible or clear from there. But there is another interesting point, and it's further up, if I can get rid of it. It's this area here where I've highlighted it in yellow, this spot, this zone, which we'll get to because it does link in with the river situation. So, with that all out the way, if we was to try and picture it now, as in Sunday, if Noah Presgrove was to go down to the river on Sunday, that would be rather interesting because it's been interpreted by people online that Noah didn't really want to be there at the party on Sunday, at least for later on in the day. Noah Presgrove was present at the party house Sunday morning with everybody else, then went out for breakfast to Waurika, up that way, as you'll see here, Waurika, going to one of the gas stations to get some proper food and properly sober up. Then after that, how it was worded by Caden at least, everyone went back to the party house, which is a bit weird, but it depends who was getting a lift and how people got there and back. Got back to the party house, which is here. Caden Pressey and all of the girls were dropped off, meaning it left Noah Presgrove, Jack Newton, Isaac Rojas, and Brylan Sweat. That's like 4 guys. Mikey Lair was not there. Mikey came down to the party later on Sunday, the time when Noah returned back to the party. Okay. It's not been contested since. That's why I've worded it that way. So you got like 4 guys going back out to town with Caden left at the house with the girls. 4 guys, one of which, Jack, his father, Caleb, all meeting up, making it 5 guys. That reference. 5 guys going out to town. What did they do exactly? This could be, possibly, maybe when going down to the river. I don't know. It's one way of looking at it. Because if Noah wanted to go back home after the river event, if it happened on that day, it would tie in line with what Brook says at some point on Sunday, in the morning time, hanging out at a river with the guys from the party and Jack's father, Caleb, might get a bit muddy or dirty somehow, and then Noah wants to go back home to his place of living to have a proper shower, which would mean a chance to get rid of any writing off his body, or scrub some of it off, and also be more fresh and clean. And then later on, being persuaded by Jack by a call to come back down to the party, and then all the other normal events followed on from there. That could be the order. Or is it possible that when the guys and Caleb went out to town and Noah was there, they did whatever, but it didn't involve the river? That the river took place, that event, when Noah was asked by Jack to come back to the house later on in the day, like afternoon time, evening time. I can't remember the exact time stamp, but did someone say it was 7:30 p.m. when Noah arrived, and by 10:30 p.m. Sunday night Noah wanted to leave and was asking for a lift back home, so he was only there for a few hours or so after covering all that distance? Whilst he wasn't driven, it still took some time for someone to drive him down there, to only be at the party for a couple of hours and then want to leave straight after, yet Noah was perfectly okay staying the night at the party house on Saturday. What changed? Did something make Noah feel uncomfortable? Did it have anything to do with the trip to the river? I wonder. So let's just say Noah is driven on down by Gage Jessen, Mikey Lair present as well. At whatever time Noah arrives, not too dark, you got to take in mind that on Sunday, from what Caden said, they also went out driving about shooting animals. So what would have happened first? Driving about shooting animals across the field area, and then returning back to the house, and then what, later going out to the river? Well, that would seem unlikely, if I'll be honest with you. Caden said when they were on the way back and they jumped a gap, it was getting to evening time. It was getting wet. It was getting dark. So for it to be getting dark, you want to be getting back home. If you was to then go out to a river whilst it's dark, that's going to be risky. It might also come down to what route or route you take to get to the area. Okay? So I'm still leaning towards the possibilities that with what Brook says, and if it is on Sunday, probably earlier on in the morning time before Noah had the chance to get back home to have a shower. Would anything of dodgy happened at a river or the river for Noah to not want to go back to the party afterwards, or maybe a bit reluctant? Let me know your thoughts. And once again, this is before Noah's death, right? Going to the river and Noah being present. Could something have returned back to that location hours later, a day later, for other reasons? It makes you think. So we're putting that out there. How do you actually get to the river? Because I'm sure some people are pulling their hairs out saying, Raph, just get to the water. We're drying up here. Oh, I'm sorry. How do you think my mouth is right now? My throat is dry from talking too much. Was that a sign to shut up? Maybe. So, you're on site at the party house property right now. To get down to the river, how would the guys, which involves Noah Presgrove, likely Jack Newton, Isaac, Brylan, and maybe Mikey, but if it's during daytime, Mikey wasn't there. He came later on. So there's that. Caden Pressey mentioned nothing about a river trip, so it's likely that Caden did not attend that. Interesting. And to be honest, for Caden not to mention the trip, like specifically what was happening, the only thing that Caden did word it as publicly in Partners in True Crime, but the guys, including Noah, went back out to town. Which town? Warwick? Same place they all went to earlier for breakfast? Or what? If you was in Warwick, would it be near to the river? Well, we can get to that. See, what I'm trying to get at is, Caden may only know so much because he wasn't present at the time of the river trip, but Noah was present. But as for other partygoers that were present as well, they've not actually even mentioned it or gone into much depth. Well, that's interesting. So let's just give this area as an example. Is this location an access point directly to Red River? Maybe not. But let me try. So northeast, south. So we're facing west. Okay, we're on the west side. Going down to Texas, man. Flip it just a little bit. Would a vehicle be needed to get from the party house down to the river? I guess it comes down to, is there a road? Yes or no? Is there a dirt one? And at least here, there is. But if you work your way down to this spot here, there is a house. Is it abandoned? Well, at the time of this street view imagery, not at all. There are two vehicles parked up in a trailer by the side. See, this is what's interesting. Whether people were talking about it at the time of Noah's death, that there are certain houses that are not inhabited, no one's in them, it's abandoned, well, why is the bloody vehicles left there then? Surely someone's living there, or at least right now they are, or visiting. Does anyone know? And anyway, besides this, there's a turnaround point. Does this mean it's a dead end? Well, it looks like from a certain angle, you could well possibly access one of the fields, this one here, or that way facing south. And if you was to get onto the field, how do you then get down to the river? Well, there's a fair bit of distance to actually get there in the first place. And is this the border here? Does it have that, like, jagged line of... Yeah, it's got the jagged line, the border, where that writing is. Just before it and after, you got thick, dense woodland, trees, bushes, and everything. In between, in the middle, what the hell do we have here? Is this a wash? Is it a dried up river? I don't know. I don't see any water personally, but it looks rather brown and dry. If anyone can clear it up, that would be appreciated. But one thing for sure, there are a range of supposed track marks. Now, sometimes we've got a bit mixed up in the Dylan Rounds case looking for track marks, like with the washes. It looks like roots, strands of roots as it spreads out, whether that be the dryness, the ground cracking. Can't get too carried away there. But if you notice any track marks, it kind of highlights as a level of activity. In terms of possible vehicles passing on through, what would they be and who has access? Is it publicly drivable, this? Is it private land? Does anyone know? Back up here, though, behind the woodland area, as you see, that's where the party house is. You know where I've got the blue marker, how many showers. Back down here, you got the woodland. The gradient does drop, as you can see. And lower down, you clearly have visible track marks. Whose exactly? I don't know. But if we follow them, takes a right turn, it drops on down, going across the border into Texas. And then there appears to be a clear, road. Go this way, turn right, follow it down. Is that a river there? Nope, it's just more track marks. Take a left turn, then a right turn. It branches off that way, but also goes down here. It's not a guarantee, but just imagine if these were old track marks to do with the party goers. Imagine that. Getting down to this point, it does fade out, but basically you're right next to the Red River, as you can see. So somehow, whether it's public or private, you can access it because there are clear track marks which lead up to the location. And there's a handful of them, as you see on the left. What type of vehicles would come on down here? quad bikes, buggies, ATVs, side-by-sides, things like that, SUVs. Drop a comment below. And then this point here looks rather dry. I guess it depends when the water's in or not, and the water level itself, if it's dried up or not. It is a river, so you're going to get flowing water movement. And there will be erosion with time. So let's say the water wasn't in and it was quite bare and open as we see here. You might be able to walk across it so far, means you got more room to play, mess about, sit down, hang out, drink, watch the flow of the water, depending on how much volume is present. You could also have more opportunities to bury stuff in the ground here. Just like how if you had a wash which was dried up at the time, you could then dig into the side of the wall of the wash, bury an item or two. But the risk that you do run is over time, due to erosion of the ground, it could wear it away, and what you tried concealing is now revealed naturally with time. And it's just like with a pond or even a river. If somehow you manage to dump a body into water and you weigh it down, at some point it could rise to the surface long term. Or short term, if a poor job is done, it can rise to the surface. Is it when like the body bloats and like inflates, it rises to the top, and it doesn't take that long either. So it's just these like little factors you got to take into consideration. But if anything was just simply chucked into the water, whether it be floating on top or slightly submerged, if it's a river and it's moving water and there's a flow in a direction, I don't know which direction the water goes in, if I'll be honest with you, whether I'm facing the right way or not. It's going to transport whatever further down the stream, up the river. And where does it collect? And would anyone pick it out if it was an item of interest? Or could it end up covering so much distance down the river that by the time it does get caught on the side, picked up by someone, reaches a dead end, it's that far away, that long gone, that if someone saw a golf club or a metal pipe or a loose shoe, they wouldn't think anything about it because of the location not being as relevant to where Noah was found at. You know, it could be near to Ryan. We're going to go up to Wairika if possible, because I just want to see if it's anywhere near to the river. It's not, is it? It's not. The Red River is, well, actually, no, it's over there. So the reason why we're in Wairika is because, basing it off what Caden Pressey said, that the guys, including Noah, whilst Caden was at home with the girls, the party house, the guys, including Caleb, went back out to town. To say went back out to town implies that wherever they all were earlier on, well, a handful select group went back there. So that would mean Wairika. And at Wairika, yeah, you can get some food. You also have Wairika Lake, the place where Jack wanted to go fishing with his father and grandfather. Was that planned out? Well, what's that, like early hours of Monday morning, what Jack said, but could there have been a bit of inspiration Sunday morning? Oh, we're in Wairika, we're near to the lake, maybe that's what we should do the next day. Who knows? Whether they actually went there on Sunday or not. What did Noah do with the guys, possibly at Wairika? And if it wasn't the location itself, but nearby the Red River, you could go by Beaver Creek, go down this road, okay? I don't know what's a private road and what isn't, so don't trust me 100%. But using a form of, transportation on a road to get down to the river. And we will do it here because we get to see what the river looks like on ground level. Or maybe not, because it's been a bastard. Get me on now. There we go. So the last time I looked at a rather large, long, winding river was the Dylan Rounds case, and it was to do with, was it Snake River, Snake Eye or something? Long highway. Texas 79. I'm doing this because I want to see what does the river actually look like, the Red River. So it does represent almost like a reddish colour, so yeah, that's one thing. It's rather wide. As for the depth, I don't know how deep it really is. Maybe deeper in some spots, middle. But then it is dried up in certain areas closer to the shoreline, as you can see. There is some vegetation and coverage, but it's not like you can walk out that far because the water level's all about. But from the street view of what we saw not street view, from the satellite imagery, it was rather dried up. It all comes down to whether there's been rainfall or not. And at the time of Noah's death, was there heavy rainfall or not? Would the river, Red River, have been dried up or quite full with water? That could determine, levels of access. I mean, underneath the bridge there appears to be like some kind of dirt track of some sort, whether that just be for walking on or not. You could easily get down to the river area, stand on the shoreline, get some seats, a lawn chair, and sit there. Normal. Nothing seems odd, right? Nothing seems odd, and yet it's a part of a timeline which hasn't been acknowledged enough. But then other events which aren't seen as a big deal have been acknowledged, have been documented, have been recorded. So why isn't it, when it comes to the external events which have taken place in a completely different location away from the party house, how come none of them seem to be recorded, documented? Why is that? Only exclusive, right? We'll only take photos. We'll only record the moments that matter most or are selective to us. Or you could even argue and say that there might be footage elsewhere of different locations, but it may not be available. Do we have any piers, on the ground? I can't really tell. Move up a little bit. Wow, there you go. Look at that. That's a bird, isn't it? But look at those track marks. You can clearly see track marks. So vehicles have been used to get on down to the area. And possibly, if partygoers was to go down to a river and there was access points, they would probably use a vehicle. As to whose exactly, would it be a side-by-side? Would it be the Ford Ranger of Jack's, which would hold enough guys? Maybe. More shoreline that side than on this, but we are further down the river, much further on. This is nearer. Facing that way is east, I believe. Over that way is Warwicker. So if the guys went back out to Warwicker, they could have come on down here or nearby to get down to the river area to hang out. Oh, so does that mean that this event is done and dusted then? Yeah, the guys went here, hung out, whatever happened, then decided to leave, and Noah went back to his place of living to have a wash because he might have got dirty rolling in the sand. Well, it might help make more sense as to Noah's body, whether he had more or less writing on it, and if it appeared more or less faded. If he had some extra washes in between, that can speed up the process. That's one thing to acknowledge. But furthermore, it's the familiarity of the area, the practicality. Honestly, in your mind or anyone watching, do you think this would be a good spot to dispose of any evidence? Not Noah's body, but any additional evidence, items or clothing. I mean, when I've been out and I've been near to a river or maybe a pond or even just on a walk, come across the odd loose shoe, odd loose bit of underwear. It's sounding a bit dodgy, that, isn't it? But you come across all kinds of random loose stuff, and people may not question it much. It doesn't lead to the police coming on in. And especially if these items are found miles and miles away from where a possible crime took place, you're probably not going to link it together, even though it could possibly link somehow. So there's that. But it depends what you're going to dispose of and how well concealed it would be. Dumping a golf club in water like that, would it stand out? Would it be questioned more? I mean, I don't think it would be questioned too much. And I know people have said, well, yeah, but the golf clubs, at least from what we last heard of, were at the scrap pile behind Jack's place of living, and then they disappeared. Yes, they disappeared. Moved on elsewhere, disposed of in a different location completely. You never know. Could this be a spot? Who knows? But people that are more familiar with the area, who knows the best spots, the hiding spots for whatever, they may choose a particular location like that. Would this be one of them? Well, it's not exactly concealed, is it? This is a busy spot, the main highway. But you got to take in mind the traffic and the timing. No street lamps, so you could get away with it, possibly. But realistically, if we're talking about an event closer to Noah's death, and even at the highway, that's closer to the party house than where we are right now, and just as close to the river, Red River, such as here, The only exception is over that way near to the party house, it's even more quiet and even more remote and further away from the highway, including the river as well. Whereas here, this actual road and bridge highway cross over the river, so you can get a good view looking down. So this may not be the spot, but it's a part of the river. And if people say this is the wrong river, as I said, I'm working with what I've got. Do we have any photos? Why not? We just have a look to see at other times. We've only got one. Perfect. Get rid of that. Now, will it still keep the markers? Yes, it does. That's good to know. So you'll also be familiar that there is a fucking big black box on the screen again. So it appears that whenever I've got the projects loaded up, the box appears. And if I haven't got the projects loaded, then it disappears. So that's annoying. There's quite a bit of distance, right? Let's get back. Let's get back to the key spot over here. So, Sunday, supposedly. Monday morning, more likely, when it could have happened. Not Monday, Sunday morning. Yeah, Sunday morning. A harmless event could have taken place, hanging out by the river. Is it possible to get on down this way? Well, there was track marks to suggest it, yes, but would people who are on site at the party house property have access to drive down these track marks, yes or no? If not, the other spot which I noticed, further up highlighted in yellow, further up the highway, past where Noah's body was found, just as a reference, going here, which bends in closer to Red River. Now, I don't know if this is private or not. You can fill it in below if you want. The ground is rather wide. Looks a little bit weird. No clue what that is. Concrete, cracked ground. Building nearby. Abandoned or not. Don't know. But there is clearly a dirt road, which when you follow it down, it goes to some trailer or building there. And this spot here, a barn with a backhoe or something. Oh no, not a backhoe. It's going to remind me of the Dylan Rounds case. And boats. But take in mind, boats nearby on land which could be transported, taken down to the river, as you see just down there, right? So as I've got highlighted in yellow, roughly, you follow these track marks down. You follow them down there, you could possibly make it back to the track marks of what we saw at the place of living, the party house. But you might only be able to go so far if it turns out to be near to the quarry. But anyway, back to this dirt road. You follow it, basically you can get down to the waterway. And look how that water bends on that side, really up close. So you can see you can get down to the river that way. If it is publicly accessible, if it's not, well then you'd have to find an alternative. But nearby, I don't know if it branches off, whether it's connected to the river. It could be by a little stream. Just here on the right, that appears to be water, like some kind of like pond. Can you see? Looks like it. And then just over here, there's another one, but this doesn't seem to be connected whatsoever. This must be just a pond or a lake of some sort. It doesn't seem to be named. So it's worth acknowledging the water sources and what's possibly about. Can we do street view to get a closer look at the area? No street view available. Yeah, bitch please, don't lie. We can get there. Don't be awkward. Right. There might be a sign. No, there isn't. Ah, there we go. That confirms that. GG. So it looks like you're not allowed to get there. So is that like a farm place, place of living, private property? I can't quite read the sign, but yeah. Is G and G the initials of the people that own the building, the land? Maybe. Okay. Well, that ticks that off the list. So they wouldn't be going that way. I just want to show you all the different possible routes. So the other one would be, instead of going there, leaving the party house, turning south towards Terrell, passing by Terrell here, going down the highway, and then passing by the casino. I put a marker there because the casino is relevant to a small extent. What is it called? River Star Casino. This place, if you weren't aware of, is in which Kathy Bingham, that private investigator, who either reached out or someone reached out to them. I can't remember the person's name, but was the other person called Kathy or Karen? No, not Karen, but they had a bit of an attitude like one. Someone, Kathy Carter Kathy. It was a supposed cleaner that works at the casino that may have reached out to Kathy Bingham about 3 guys being inside of the male bathroom toilet area, messing about with a cap, putting it in or on top of the bin and leaving it there. And one of the guys was identified to be from the party which Noah attended. Do we have a timestamp, a date as to when it really happened? And the year? Nope. Oh, great good of F that did. What a waste of time. But you'll see on my channel, I did a bit of coverage where that witness actually publicly spoke out on my channel, having a go at me with their attitude, telling me off and saying it wasn't put in the bin, it was put on top. Does it matter if it's on a bin or in a bin? It was being disposed of in a way recklessly or just left behind. And that the hat that was placed there was similar to Noah's hat. Okay, fine. What happened to the hat though? Huh? No mention. Any follow-up by Kathy Bingham? No. Was it debunked publicly? No. So where the hell are we at with that then, the casino? Can anyone debunk the casino, yes or no? Is it still ongoing? Is there any possibility that if you was to come on down here to possibly access the Red River, they nipped in at the casino along the way or returning back on a Sunday? What's the opening times of this casino anyway? Does it say? Not really. We have been inside in the past on the maps. I'm just going down here because we actually get to the river. There is a bridge. Is there a cut-off, a road you can go down? Not really. You got like a serial grid, goes underground, interesting. No unauthorised motor vehicles on slope. What does that mean? Quite high up. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting colour. Dried up in the middle, or more so like raised as an island, but then on the sides, it's clearly filled with water. Thick, luscious bush and trees, good cover. A bridge over there, which maybe for the railroad tracks. Appears to be some vegetation caught up. Has it ever flooded Red River? What would that look like, I wonder? Oh, bloody hell, that appeared out of nowhere. Made me jump. Is this Optimus Bumpertron ass? I don't know, it's red then. Right. Reddish colour, or more clay type hair. Interesting. So it's not like you could go on down to the river to do much here, but, further on, if you got patchy areas like this, you'd have access. But interestingly, in this middle area, you can clearly see track marks. So depending what the water levels are like, people have been driving down there in some kind of vehicle. That could apply to the partygoers as well, right? So we've become familiar or a bit more with the area. You get to see it from a different perspective. A supposed event in which Noah attended by the river. As to what timestamp, we don't know. As to what really happened there, as for footage and evidence, we don't know. But could it be a location which was used afterwards, after Noah's death? Because I'll say one thing, I don't think Noah would have died near to the Red River. But If any items or possessions were disposed of or went missing, could they have ended up in this river? Maybe, to a small extent, but would they go out of their way to do it here? No. I'd probably still argue and say, you just go down to the dirt road down here and try and get down the back road, kind of out of sight, through the trees, through the cover of night, or it's a different day, to get to the Red River and dispose here, depending what the water levels are like. Now, of course, from Brook's point of view, she wasn't wording this event as anything suspicious, and I wouldn't expect her to do so, because, you know, you'd be protecting people that you care about. I'm looking at it from an alternative perspective, a darker one. So there is that. And speaking of water, it's raining really heavy outside. It's crazy. Out of nowhere. Floodgates have opened. Oh boy. So, if you've noticed anything interesting or abnormal today, if your mindset has changed, be sure to let me know when you can. All in all, hopefully you found this video somewhat interesting. A theory, to an extent, based map analysis with the potential of an actual event that did take place in a specific location of interest, an area which just hasn't been documented or seen publicly, like with some other alternatives. I mean, just to reflect back on, out of all the footage, what we've seen, has most of it been positive/neutral, as in, this is a party, it appears rather normal, fun, cool, happy and positive. 99%, 100% of that footage publicly seen. What percentage of footage could be considered in a darker tone or atmosphere? And based off that percentage, what are the chances that that is not accessible, or it was deleted, or it's been hidden? See, this is the thing, kind of like when you get Instagram where people will post certain photos or videos of themselves or where they are, make it look as great as possible, but it might just be the camera angle. It might be the lighting. I mean, like, a bit off subject, but when it comes to like updates of like muscle on the arm or shoulders, I try and do natural lighting as possible, okay? Of course, if you do a different angle or position, it might look a lot better than what it actually is. If you pull your trousers up higher, it'll make more of a V shape in which you don't look as fat. Okay, like if I was to do it, but I try not to. If you twist your body or twist your leg a certain way, it will show more muscle, making it look bigger than what it really is. So you could say manipulating it slightly to make it look as great as possible, trying to hide all the imperfections. And like with the social media side, Instagram, which can be bad at times or pretty much often, and the way people use it as well, they might show themselves in a too perfect light where they are or what they're doing. Behind the camera or looking the other way, it could look like a complete wasteland and you're only seeing it from one side. So is that how it is with this party? Has it been portrayed as a perfect party? Nothing went wrong, or at least there's no video footage of stuff going wrong. Okay, we've heard of the side-by-side rollover. Not exactly a positive thing, is it? Especially if it leads to a bit of an injury and anyone being shaken up. Does it exist, the footage? Supposedly. Have we seen it publicly? No. So we don't get to see a negative side of the party there. As for the shower or the tea bagging or the sleeping debacle, any video footage of any of that taking place? Maybe. But has it been public? No. So we're not seeing that side of the party either. Any of the arguments taking place between Noah and Jack, or Mikey and Noah with the fish hooking and the biting the finger short term, or Monday with Jack and Noah, or afterwards with Avery and Carter. There's been references about it all, but no public footage. We're not seeing the ugly side of the party. We're not seeing the realistic, overall, holistic view of a party, where it'd be a typical one or a one-off, which ended differently. It just seems too normal, at least the footage, for most part of it. Is there any videos or clips out there which show it in a different light? a more negative tone. Has it been done on purpose to not show that public because it gives people a bad image, the location, the house, the area of some sort? It gives others ammunition and they don't want that to be given out. Let me know what you think below. But nevertheless, this video needed to be done, and with some additional points along the way and comments, it just reinforced it more as to why it should be. And if there needs to be a follow-up video, I can always do that. But it kind of makes a change to get away from the party house and look a bit further afar. And some could say, are you going too far away? So what? 1 mile away, you got Noah's body. So why not do a 1 mile radius of the location then, for other items at least, which may be missing? And, you know, we talk about and hear about Noah's missing items and possessions. What about any other party goers? Did they lose anything at the time? We don't hear them complaining about it or talking about it much. Maybe because they're not bothered, or they are bothered and they don't want to raise attention to themselves. I mean, the only other person I'm aware of is Jack Newton losing his hat because somebody messed with it, as he said in his text conversation message with his father, Caleb. So there's that. Anything else in between? Any items, clothing which disappeared because it was worn at the time of Noah's death and you don't want blood on your hands or on your clothing, and instead of cleaning it, I was outright destroy, get rid. Let me know. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video to spread that awareness of a creative, original video. And once again, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. My name's Wallite Raff. Goodbye. Good night for now.